1% a month. That was the whole offer. About 1% a month every month and almost never a losing one. So how did the dullest promise on Wall Street last for decades? Greed is the wrong place to look. We put his largest fund's returns beside the markets over the same 215 months. As far as we can tell, nobody had done that, so we did. The market he claimed to be trading fell in 76 of those months. His fund reported 17, and his advertised return beat that market by about 1 percentage point a year. The extra money was rounding. What he sold you was 59 bad months removed from your life, and there was nothing underneath it. When the trustee took the books apart, he reported no evidence that securities had ever been bought for customer accounts. Not in 1 year. In 13. Nothing was bought. Bernie Madoff was reported to regulators in the year 2000. And again. And again. The SEC's own Inspector General later counted 6 substantive complaints across 16 years, 3 examinations, 2 investigations. Nobody caught him. Put yourself in the chair. Somebody offers you a fund. About 10.5% a year, roughly what the stock market did over the same stretch. The difference is the ride. The market gets there by falling off cliffs. 1998, 2002, 2008. Its worst month is down almost 17%. His worst month, across 18 years, is down 0.2%. That is the product, the flatness of the line. And smoothness is the most persuasive thing in finance. A man promising to triple your money is asking you to believe something. A man showing you a line that has barely bent since 1990 is asking you to believe nothing. The line has already happened. He had an explanation ready. His funds described a strategy called a split-strike conversion. You buy a basket of large American stocks, you buy insurance against the market falling, and you sell some of your upside to pay for it. Boring, technical, slightly dull to listen to. Which is exactly the tone of voice you use when you are not lying about anything. A Ponzi scheme is a very particular object. It never invests anything ever from the first day. It pays the people leaving with the money of the people arriving. So nobody in that building ever has to trade. They only have to manufacture the paperwork saying they did. And that work is enormous. Every month, thousands of customers receive a statement. Each one needs holdings, and each holding needs a price, a date, a quantity, and prices that actually existed that day. So you choose the day afterwards. You look at what the stock did, pick a moment that produces the return you already decided to report, and write the trade backwards into the record. Do it once, and it is forgery. Do it every month for decades, across thousands of accounts, and it becomes an industry. There were people in that office whose whole working lives were spent producing evidence of transactions that had not occurred. We went looking for the trades. The trustee got there first, and he reported that he could not find them. Which means the fund existed on paper, in the most literal sense available. The statements were the fund. Now the part that should be impossible. People noticed, repeatedly. An analyst named Harry Markopoulos was handed Madoff's numbers and asked to reproduce them. He could not, and after years of trying, he concluded nobody could. He went to the SEC around the turn of the century, again the year after, and in November 2005, he sent them a document titled, "Without much subtlety, the world's largest hedge fund is a fraud." We checked that memo. Sources cannot even agree on how long it was, so we will use the number the Inspector General signed instead. 6 substantive complaints, 16 years, 3 examinations, 2 investigations. And his summary of all of it, a thorough and competent investigation or examination was never performed. They went. They asked questions. They read what he handed them. Nobody ever asked an outside party whether the trades on those statements had happened. That is the entire check. One call to the people who settle American securities transactions would have ended it in an afternoon, on almost any day for 16 years. We went looking for the bribe. So did the Inspector General. Neither of us found one. What he found was worse than corruption, because corruption you can fix by removing the corrupt. So how long had it been running? We should be straight with you, because this is the one thing we could not settle. Madoff said the fraud began in 1992. Prosecutors later said the early 1970s. His own deputy testified he was taught to falsify records there as a teenager, in the middle of that decade. That is a gap of 2 decades between the man who ran it and the people who took it apart, and we cannot close it. What we can tell you is why it did not stop on its own. What kills a Ponzi scheme is withdrawals. As long as more comes in than goes out, every statement clears. So it dies on the day a crowd of people all need their cash back in the same month. Suspicion has nothing to do with it. Which is what the autumn of 2008 was. The crash you watched in the last episode made everybody need money at once. That was all it had to do. Roughly $7 billion was requested. It was gone. On the 10th of December, he told his brother and his 2 sons that the business was a fraud. The next day, he was arrested. Nobody caught him. He ran out. In March 2009, he pleaded guilty to 11 counts. In June, a judge gave him 150 years, the maximum the law allowed. And then came the number. $65 billion, the largest figure in the history of financial fraud. We went looking for the $65 billion. It is a sum of printing. 64.8 billion was the total showing on customer statements in November 2008, and those statements were the forgeries. What real people handed over and lost was closer to 17.5 billion. Still an enormous hole. But here is the part almost nobody reports. As of July this year, the trustee has recovered or agreed to recover 15.5 billion of it and paid out 14.8. About 75 cents on the dollar returned. So the biggest number in financial history was mostly a printing job, and most of the real hole has since been filled. Which tells you what he actually took. He took decades of a few thousand people believing they were safe, and he built that out of the one thing none of them thought to check. The months when nothing went wrong. If you want the rest of these, the rise and the fall of the world's greatest fortunes, subscribe.